Welcome to part 5 of the pile optimization process. In the previous video, we created exclusion zones around problem areas and used terrain following trackers to help shorten some of our pile lengths. Now we're going to start getting into cut and fill. As you can see in our property analysis panel over here, while things are looking better and we're definitely seeing more green than not, we do still have quite a few piles that are way taller than we'd like. Anything above 20 feet is just not going to be constructible. And just as a note, there are different ways to look at this. You could select auto bin count and it gives you a much more detailed view where you can see exactly how many of each we have. Or we could round mid-max and get a little bit different of a view there as well. So it's just really whatever is going to work best for you. I usually like to keep it simple like this. So now if we come back over to our terrains and piles menu, we're finally going to select the update within selection checkbox. Now, same as it was before, our selected area, we can do either boundary for just more generic cutting and filling of an entire area, or equipment, which is what we're going to be doing today. Now, we don't want to do cut and fill over this entire area. We just want to focus on the problem areas, just like we did with our terrain following trackers. So we're going to do the same process as before. We're going to come over to our property analysis panel and horizontally select. And I want to start with everything. Let's go 17 feet and up. Okay, and just like before, we're going to hide everything that doesn't meet that criteria. We're going to come up to Edit and Isolate or Shift H. And then we're going to come over to Select from Scene. We're going to hold down Control and click and drag. So we have just these selected. So now let's go down and look at some of these other settings that have come up. We have our north, south, and east-west terrain slopes, which you can adjust. I'm actually going to adjust east-west here to 15% just to give us a little more wiggle room. So I'm going to pull one of these trackers up for an example of what we're talking about with the rest of these options. Let me click on one of these trackers and press C. And just for clarity's sake, I'm going to bring the terrain back by pressing Control H. Now you can see my terrain is visible again, so that we can talk through some of the other options we've got going on here. So after our slope, we have here our tolerance grading window. Tolerance grading window is how smooth we want the surface to be after grading. So for instance, a 0 tolerance, which is unrealistic, would be a perfectly smooth surface that's at a specified slope. A half-foot tolerance means that we allow the grade to fluctuate half a foot up or down. Now let's skip forward to the piles menu right here because these two are going to be tied to the tolerance grading window. We have our embedment and our reveal. Embedment is how much of the pile is allowed to go into the ground right here. And then our reveal is how much of the pile is showing or revealed from the slope to the tracker. So this area right here. Let's say we want to give a little bit more tolerance to the reveal. Let's say we want our maximum to come up to 5.5. You'll notice that the tolerance grading window up here has adjusted. It's now 0.75 and 1.5. And then say if we wanted to adjust our minimum, let's make it 4.5 now. It has adjusted our maximum based on what the tolerance grading window is up here. So now that we've gone through these, let's come right back up here. Let's go to Cut Fill Grid Size. And you see it is set at a standard 12 feet. And this is based on feasibility for construction. If you hover over the eye right here, it's going to give you more detail about why this is so. Now that we've looked at some of our options here, I'm going to press C to exit out of the selection. And just very quickly, I'm going to pull my selected equipment back up. Okay, and let's just make sure we definitely have it selected. So I'm just going to reselect this just because I've been messing with it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to change my reveal back to 4 and 5 like it had before. We have all of our selections made. We have our new slope selected. We still have our terrain following trackers on because these are the same trackers that we set as terrain following trackers in the last video. So now let's run update piles, cut and fill. Just running. And as you can see in our property analysis panel, we don't have any piles that are over 10 feet now. So let's find the similar pile that we were looking at before, and let's compare. And we're going to show all so that we can see our terrain again. And as you can see now, we have a much nicer grade, very short piles. It's all looking way better. So let's see to exit out of that. Let's look at our terrain analysis panel and see how much grading was actually done. So let's come over to it here. You can select cut fill. We're going to autofill ranges and colors just to make sure we have the correct thing. And you can see here where cut fill was applied. And this is after cut fill. You can see initial and after. Same with elevation, autofill. And these ranges could all be typed in by you, and you could even adjust which colors they are if you prefer to look at more of a grayscale. And you can see initial before we ran the cut fill and after. So you can use these to compare how much of a difference was made. And then once you're done, always remember to come over here to transparent. And of course, very important, always be sure to be saving. Let's put our description as after cut fill and add that as a version. Okay. Because we definitely don't want to go through all this work again. Once that's done saving, we're going to come over to our project panel. Take a minute to update the project metrics. And what we're going to do is we're going to come here and check out the cut fill area and cut fill volume of our project. And right here, you can see our cut fill area and our cut fill volume information. And knowing what we do, we can make our adjustments for what needs to be cut and filled. For instance, in this particular project, I tried to keep our project as close to 1 gigawatt of DC power as possible. We are just a little bit under right now. So depending on my project scope, I could go through and I could eliminate some more areas so that I could eliminate my cut and fill. Or if I want to keep my DC power up, I could allow my cut and fill to be a little on the higher side. Knowing what we have, we can take this information and we can put it into this spreadsheet right here. What we have here is the optimization scenarios spreadsheet. This will be provided to you by PV Farm, and you can run different scenarios of what you could do with terrain following trackers, the different types of trackers, different options of different levels of cut and fill. It will give us cost estimates of all of this. That way you can try different scenarios and you can pick the one that is going to be the most efficient and optimal for your project. And that is the pile optimization process.